So now that we have our texture incorporated in here, we're very, very close to being at the finished product. We're very, very close to having this the way we want it. But at this point, there's still a couple things that are obviously lacking. If you think about how this will apply to the plane, you'll notice that there's no color and that it's very, very, very faint. If you were to put this on the plane right now, you would have texture, but the plane would look like it was white. It wouldn't be very attractive. So I want to add some color to this. I want to give it some pizzazz. And the way I'm going to do this is with an adjustment. Now, in Photoshop, there are lots of different types of adjustments, and there are two different ways to add them. The first option is to go to Image, Adjustments, and pick an adjustment. Now, if you do this, it applies the adjustment to the entire picture. Every single layer will be changed by this adjustment. So, if you just want to do like one simple tint to the entire picture, that's the way to go. The way that I usually do it, however, is to use an adjustment layer. Now what this does is it creates a layer that has the adjustment on it. And so that adjustment can only influence all the layers beneath it, which means that if you want to keep working on something after doing that adjustment, or you want to get rid of the adjustment at any time, or you want to change how the adjustment works, this is the way to go. I usually find it to be the more flexible way of doing things, and it leaves more room for mistakes, so if you mess something up, it's way easier to go back and change it if you had it as an adjustment layer as opposed to doing it to the whole thing. So I'm going to go to Layer, New Adjustment Layer, and the adjustment I'm choosing here is Hue Saturation. Now Hue Saturation lets you change the color of something that you're doing. So you can see here it has three sliders. The hue slider lets you change the actual color of your selected area. The saturation slider lets you change how bright that color is, and the lightness slider lets you change how dark or light it is. So with this adjustment layer, I'll be able to give this color and make it darker so that it doesn't look so pale. Now the one thing I need to do before doing this is I need to make it so that I don't really want to change the color of all this information outside the UVs, my white background here. I only want to change what's inside the UVs. So you'll see that when I created the adjustment layer, I automatically made a little layer mask with it. That will do it. It will do that every time. And so with that layer mask, again, I can tell it which parts of the layer I want it to show. And since I wanted to show the outside, I can just use my selection that I had before. So I'll load my selection, and I'll go click on the layer mask, and I'll make sure I have black as my active color, because remember, black makes it so that the information is hidden. I'll make my brush really big, paint over the whole thing, and now you can see that the two layer masks here look the same because both of them are masking the outside of the layer. So I'll just get rid of my selection here, and now I can use my Hue Saturation selection in order to add color and tint to my UVs here. Now the one thing that I do have to do before I do that is, because this is in grayscale and was when we brought it in, I need to tell the computer to add some color to it first, because you can't edit color if there is no color. So I'll just click this little box, and you may or may not be able to see it, but now there is color information there. It is a red color. And it just, so if I wanted to, I could change this to be any color I want. In this case, I actually do want it to be red, so I'll keep it there. But this is a very, very pale red, as you can see, because the saturation slider is way down here. I move the saturation slider up, I'm going to get a nice, bright, vivid red. But at the same time, this still looks pretty close to white. It's pretty bright, and I don't think the plane should be that bright. So I'm going to darken it. And now you can see that I have a nice bright red propeller with just a little bit of grip to it, just a little bit of wear. And so this is roughly what I wanted in the image, and this is what I wanted my propellers to look like. So there are other things I could do if I wanted to tweak this. I could add a new layer and get rid of some of these areas where the texture's a little too obvious manually using my brush tool. I could do more adjustments to get it to look just perfect, but this this is quality. This would work on the plane. I could apply this. It would look just fine. So that's the basics of texturing, and I hope that's helpful.